The ELITE ETHOS with the SP cam offers a performance module as well as a comfort module. The modules offer 1/4 inch draw length adjustments and 70 to 90% for your let off. As is true to ELITE, they have a very smooth draw cycle, and the Ethos is no different. You're just drawing this bow back and you just kind of stop. And once you stop, you can see that back wall is really solid. And upon shooting the bow, there is absolutely no hand shock or kick whatsoever. Another thing to note is you can also utilize this bow with limb stops instead of cable stops if you prefer that feel on your back wall. So overall, the ELITE ETHOS with the SP cam has a great draw cycle and a solid back wall. The new HOYT ALPHA X has the HBX exact cam system, which allows shooters to adjust the draw length at 1/4 inch increments, which is super beneficial. The draw cycle is smooth and the transition into the back wall is almost unnoticed. As you see right here, it's a nice smooth draw cycle and it just transitions into the back wall, and then all of a sudden you're there. There's no dump or unwanted movement. You just stop on your draw cycle, and then when it comes time for that shot, you go ahead and let her rip, and there's almost no hand shock. So I can guarantee you, you will be impressed with the HBX exact cam system on the new HOYT ALPHA X. The PSE MACH 30DS with the EC2 cam has a great draw cycle. As you can tell, the cam is pretty circular in shape, so the transition into that back wall is almost unnoticed. You have an 80, 85, or 90% let off change right here at the end of this cam. And you just draw this bow back and you just kind of stop when you transition into that back wall. As you see here, you're drawing, and you just stop drawing. And then when it comes time to take the shot with this bow, there's basically no hand shock, which is just outstanding for how much this bow weighs. So overall, the draw cycle and back wall is really, really enjoyable with this MACH 30DS from PSE. The BOWTECH CORE SR offers a ton of innovation and allows the shooter to adjust this bow to the fit and feel that they desire. With the time lock technology, you're able to get perfect timing and synchronization when you draw back this bow. With the flip disc technology, you can flip between performance and comfort. In the comfort setting, there's almost no transition into that back wall, has a fairly solid back wall, and shoots great. In the performance setting, you will notice a transition into that back wall. However, in my testing, I noticed a 10 feet per second bump up in arrow speed on the performance setting. Along with that, you have the deadlock, and that allows you to shoot with your arrow rest and center shot while taking out left and right tears with the deadlock. Last but not least, you have the grip lock. The grip lock allows you to adjust the angle of that grip so that you can have the exact fit and feel that you want. I currently have this bow in the performance setting, and you'll notice as I'm drawing this bow back, there's a slight transition right there into that back wall. Once you get there, pretty solid back wall. And when you go ahead and you shoot this bow, there's little to no hand shock. And I tell you what, the BOWTECH SR, it has been a pleasure to shoot, and I really appreciate all of the customization that you can do with this bow so that it fits you perfectly. This is the PRIME RVX 32. The draw cycle on it is very enjoyable. It has draw mods that are specific to draw length to go from 26 inches to 30 inches. And it is just an overall enjoyable draw cycle. You start drawing this bow back, and there's a slight notice in transition right there into the back wall. But once you're in that back wall, man, it is very, very solid. And as you shoot this bow, there's almost no hand shock. There's a very slight vibration in the grip itself, but not a sharp hand shock like you might notice from other bows. So overall, The PRIME RVX 32 with the core cam system offers a great draw cycle and a very solid back wall. Seven eighths, 7/8. 3 inches, 1.5, 1 5/8. 3 inches, 2 3/4, 1 3/8. 4 3/8, 2 7/8, 2 5/8. 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. 1 inch, 1 1/8, 1/2. 1 1/4 inches, 3 1/4 inches, and 2 1/8. 2 3/4, 2 1/4, 1 inch. 7/8, 1 inch, 1 inch. 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 1/4 inch. 3 1/2, 2 1/8, 1 7/8. 4 1/2, 3 3/4, 2 7/8. 3/4 of an inch, 7/8, 1/2 inch. 1 3/4, 1 1/2, 3/4. 2 1/2, 2 1/8, 1 5/8. 3 1/8, 3 3/4, 1 3/16. 1 5/8, 1 3/8, 1/4 inch. 3 1/8, 2 1/4, 1 1/4. 3 3/4, 3 5/8. 3 1/2, 1 1/8, 2 3/4, and 1 7/8.